predict a retail bankruptcy in 2024?
Ooh, that's a dark question. Yeah, I had a couple thoughts on this. One was Big Lots. Do you remember Big Lots?
So I remember Big Lots. I love Big Lots. Why would Big Lots? God, I don't think they're going to go
Hell
bankrupt,
yeah.
really.
I love Big Lots too.
Fuck. What are the biggest mistakes brand new D2C founders make when starting out? When I was a brand new direct-to-consumer founder, I was also like, people love our business so much and they're talking about it so much. This is how we're going to grow. It took me 2 years to come to the realization that that's just not how it worked, and that ultimately you had to find a repeatable channel. Have you seen people make mistakes like legal paperwork early on? Like, what have
sometimes
you seen?
It's like they don't read a contract properly. Out clauses should be a huge red flag. If there's no out clause in any contract you sign, don't sign it.
Guys, I'm super excited that this season's sponsor is Fulfill.io. I'm an early investor in Fulfill. I invested in about 7 years ago. Back then, the business was really nascent, and they were working with smaller direct-to-consumer businesses. Now they work with huge brands, including Nectar and Ridge, Hexclad, Caraway. In fact, another brand that I've invested in, Cadence. It's a fantastic ERP. The same thing that Klaviyo did to MailChimp in terms of building an email system made exclusively for our industry. Well, that's what Fulfill is doing to NetSuite. They're making an ERP built exclusively for our industry. It's fantastic. It is a single source of truth for your business. They offer everything from accounting to order management to inventory, warehouse management, EDI operations. Make sure you never miss a sale. Learn more at fulfill.io.
Okay, Nick, season 8, episode 12. 812, I guess.
812, the last one of the season.
Excited about it. We're doing a listener mailbox. Basically, people asked us questions in the Slack group. They got upvoted and downvoted. And so there's a bunch of questions to go through. We certainly won't be able to get through all of them because there's 50 on this list, I think. Where do you think we should start?
I think let's start at the top of our doc, and let's just go for the next 40 minutes. Let's see where we get to, and then we'll save the rest for the next time we do this.
All right. That sounds great. So the first question is from Robert Leonard. He says, what are the biggest mistakes brand new D2C founders make when starting out, and how should it be done instead?
Ooh, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Look, this is a pretty general question, so it's hard for me to answer this, but in such a broad brush. But I would say that the biggest mistake I see people making is not focusing on getting sales in a way that's repeatable. A lot of times when I find early founders doing $200,000, $500,000 a year in sales, or even $1 to $2 million in year in sales, what they say is, oh, our customers really love our product and they're referring everyone. They love it. They love what we're doing. They love the brand. And so they're getting us other customers. They're talking about it with their friends and with their family. And that was true for, my first business. That's how I felt as well. When I was a brand new direct-to-consumer founder, I was also like, people love our business so much and they're talking about it so much. This is how we're going to grow. I quickly realized, I came to the realization, probably, I shouldn't say quickly, it took me 2 years to come to the realization that that's just not how it worked. And that ultimately you had to find a repeatable channel, whether that be paid or social or YouTube or TikTok or whatever it was, in order to go out and get sales. And so I would say the number one thing people don't focus on is finding a repeatable channel to go find sales. Too many people early on are like, people love us. They're going to tell everybody about our product. That's how we're going to grow. That just doesn't work. What do you think it is?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the referral thing is such a myth. Like the two myths that I always see early founders dive into. One is the referral thing. Hey, if person A likes this, then they're going to want to give it to person B and so on. The second one is, if I spend a little bit more on acquiring a customer, the LTV of that customer is going to make up for it. And those are two I forget the word for it, false homonyms or something like that, where it's like, do you know what I'm talking about? Takes you down the wrong path.
Do not do that is what you're saying. Yeah. That's a great point, is like, there are some businesses that should spend beyond their first customer in order to acquire that customer because they make so much money long term. Verizon, it makes a ton of sense for Verizon to spend $5,000 to acquire you because you're going to stick with their cell phone for so long. it almost never makes sense for direct-to-consumer businesses to spend more than more than their gross margin or contribution margin on their first order. That is a
Yeah.
big mistake that people make. Usually I don't see brand new direct-to-consumer founders making that. I see VC-backed founders making that. The brand new
Yeah.
ones just don't understand. Repeatable marketing channels is the name of the game.
Yeah. The other ones that I'd written down, one was spending too much money on agencies. So coming out the gate and spending $300,000 with a branding agency, $250,000 on a website, like these large checks are really not worth it to be spending on new things right out the gate. Choosing the wrong partners, so choosing the wrong agencies because you saw a case study they did for a brand that you admire, and now you want to work with them because of that. That's honestly a terrible way to do it. Choosing the wrong 3PL, choosing the wrong contractors, not getting legal paperwork done the first time around the right way is also a costly mistake. And then the other one I think is just like coming out of the gate, launching your brand and spending way too much money trying to get acquisition to work right away without understanding that your product actually works, why it works, how people use it, where they use it, how often are they buying it. Like kind of going right out the gate and just trying to find something, just trying to spend money is a mistake that is tough because then you've now spent this money and you're trying to figure out how to justify the return, but it's just very tough.
Yeah. What mistake have you seen with the legal paperwork out of curiosity? Have you seen people make mistakes with like legal paperwork early on? Like what have you seen?
Sometimes it's like they don't read a contract properly. So like two of my portfolio companies worked with an agency. They didn't fully read the contract and, they were locked into a 12-month period with no out clause. Actually, out clauses should be a huge red flag. If there's no out clause in any contract you sign, don't sign it. You always have the leverage. You'll always get the out clause. And then the other one is like employment attorneys, having good employment attorneys that make sure you're set up either where so you're hiring in different states, you make sure that you're abiding by those laws, or, if you have somebody going on maternity leave, you have a proper legal friendly maternity policy. I haven't seen too many issues on that side, but I've definitely been like, we spent a good amount of money on our employment stuff and our maternity stuff just to make sure we're kosher in every state.
Have you had your employees, or have any of your employees been on maternity leave? I feel like all of your employees are 21.
Yeah, two are currently actually on maternity leave.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask, this question wasn't asked. What's the biggest mistake you've seen brands doing north of $10 million make?
North of $10 million? Honestly, it's I feel like it's kind of similar to like coming out the gate. Like there's not that much difference. It's still like, let's see, $10 million. So a lot of it can still be around like, I think, if we're talking in the context of marketing, a lot of it I think is around like where they're spending, how they're allocating, what type of products are they pushing. A lot of it too is like, if you go from 0 to 10 million, you probably need a new agency. Like your agency that you were spending, $15,000 a month with is not the one that's going to be able to help you spend $600,000 a month because they just operate differently. What do you think comes to mind?
I think you're right about the agencies. I think this is where usually I don't see brand new founders hiring a ton of agencies. I think this is where you start thinking about agencies and you hire a bunch of them and you make mistakes. I generally think most agencies are mistakes. Like if you're operating with one or two, I get it. If you're operating with 4 or 5, I think you probably have too many agencies. I think the other thing I see people make, the other mistake I see people make when they get to this scale is they don't take hard medicine when they should. Facebook ad prices or advertising prices in general will go up, or their product won't be as competitive and their sales will start going down. So they just start spending more on advertising and their economics go upside down instead of them saying, you know what, we're a $10 million business or a $20 million business. It's okay to go from 20 to 10 and then regroup and try and get the business back together. You're not a publicly traded business where this wouldn't this would crush your share price or something. Most businesses are like, we're a $20 million business. We can't go down. If we go down, it's such a failure. So they'll start spending so much money when things go the other way that they end up in bankruptcy or they end up in a really tight financial position because they haven't conserved cash. Like it's okay for your business to drop in sales. Like that happens to everybody. It's okay. It happens to, just get used to it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I feel like um, I feel like one thing that tends to happen once you get to that stage is maybe you hire like a fractional CFO or one of these finance firms and they start building out these unrealistic models of, oh, you got, 270,000 people to your site last year. Now you have to get not, 430,000 and you're like, but with the same budget. And it's like it kind of builds these weird unrealistic models of what you're expected to hit with no real reasoning behind it. And I think it's kind of along what you're saying, which is like you don't have to grow a crazy amount every year. You can run a business like it's a business. It doesn't have to be something that is just a slingshot home run every time or every year. It's
That's right.
doubling month over month.
That's right. Especially if you're a bootstrap business, right? You've got the bandwidth to be like, look, I can take a hit on my net profit this year and regroup and make this a strong business. Not let me just spend until this business doesn't make sense any longer.
Yeah. It is a spot I have seen brands get to where they feel like their only way out is to continue spending. And I also think that's the wrong approach.
It's crazy. Okay, let's pick a random, why don't you pick a random question from the list that we have, and then I'm going to pick a random question instead of just
Cool.
going down the list, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. Okay. How about this one? If you're a completely new bootstrap brand, what is the best way to get customer number one in 2024?
Okay, you want to go first?
Sure. I mean, the easiest answer is social media. You're sitting on your couch on your ass with your thumbs on a 4.5-inch screen that allows you to reach millions of people without moving. I think you should definitely use that. If not that, Product Hunt, you've talked about, that's where you launch native. That's where you got, I think, your first 50, 60 sales. You've got Reddit. You can go into communities on Reddit and be a solution to a problem that is being discussed. You can do the same thing on random niche forums that relate back to your product. You could DM creators one by one and see who wants a sample, and that'll post. And then, of course, you can tap into marketplaces, Amazon, Goop, Verishop, TikTok Shop, any place where there's already traffic and your product's a good fit is another spot to go get your first customer.
That's a great and comprehensive answer. I don't really have anything to add to that. I would say customer number one is super easy. It'll be a friend of yours. And if it's not a friend of yours, it'll be somebody when you just start advertising. Customer number one is not a problem. It's the customer number 1,000. And that's what, if you're a pharmaceutical company, it costs $6 billion to create the first pill of whatever you make, your new drug, because it costs so much in R&D. And the second pill costs 2 cents. And it's like, they're all 2 cents afterwards. This is the exact opposite. It costs 2 cents to get your first customer. It costs you $6 billion to get your last, it's very expensive as you continue to scale. So the first customer isn't the big deal. And I think you gave a really comprehensive answer of how to get that person. It's customer number 1,000 that you don't know.
Totally.
Okay. The next question I've got is from Gabe Mays. They ask, or he asks, there's a lot of buzz about AI, but what real impacts have you seen from it in marketing with your brands? What is the most useful now versus not quite ready yet? Particularly interested in any success around personalization.
Honestly, I haven't seen a ton around generative AI. I think there is a opportunity for, there's a lot of these like personalization tools that exist, but they tend to be for the larger enterprise style players that are on Salesforce. But like, why isn't there a software where if I go to the Roan website looking for a polo, come in from Google on a polo, and I go back to the homepage, it should just show me polos, ideally with some copy that maybe I referenced in my search to come into the site. That's one application I think could be interesting to create. But the only really cool like AI thing I've seen that I don't think will get replicated immediately right away, because I do think 95% of the stuff that comes out that's AI is something that's going to be a commodity in 6 months from now. But have you heard of Flockshop? FLOCKSHOP? Flockshop.ai. It's really cool. It's just like a cosmetics imaging, but done with AI models. So you can basically rapidly render different shades of cosmetics on all different shades of skin tones. I thought that was really, really interesting and also very different. But most of the other stuff is like, ad copy or, we'll make an ad based on this. I don't know that any of that stuff is like, ready to pass the test of real brands. But I think it's on its way. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I have seen a lot on TikTok is these AI generated videos that'll, like, last night I was scrolling and I saw an AI generated video of Mukesh Ambani, and it just gave like his story. And it was basically a script that was probably pasted somewhere. And that script then turned into a TikTok video for a minute. And then it was posted, and it when I looked at it, it had 30,000 likes. And that to me was interesting from a content standpoint. You know, if you're Crocs and you want to talk about the Crocs story or the inception of Gibbets, and you can get AI to help you write a script, then put it into a video editor and crank out some content, I think that's a great application. But have you seen anything like super interesting that catches your eye or that you've told your team to check out?
No, in fact, I hadn't seen this Flock AI. It's really interesting. So basically, just so I understand Flock AI or Flock Shop, it's, hey, I've got a makeup brand and I want a photo of somebody like using my makeup brand. You're going to AI somebody. You're going to create an image with that person using my brand without me having to do that. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I hadn't heard of this before, but I've seen this happening through like ChatGPT's, creation of images. Like, it's the pay feature for ChatGPT. I do think I've seen a little bit of that so far, and that's been somewhat interesting. I've seen AI, obviously when it comes to customer service. It's not marketing, but for customer service, I've seen a lot of people use AI, particularly for "Where's my order," which are commoditized emails, basically. I've seen Facebook try and implement AI whenever you try and write a product description or a headline, and when you're creating a new ad, Facebook is like, "Hey, here's some suggestions through AI," and they're not terrible; they're good, but like they're not as good as you could probably come up with yourself.
Yeah.
I'm more bearish on this than other people are. I do think that their technology is amazing and that it'll be something, but I think it'll be something in 2 to 4 years and not 6 to 12 months. Like, I just don't think we're close enough in the next 6 to 12 months for it to make a huge difference to us. I do think that you can create an image if you're trying to run a sale or you're trying to run a banner. And you can say, "Hey, I want a July 4th email and I want like balloons or something.
Yeah.
Can you help me create that image?" So I do think that there are uses. I'm not trying to say that it's completely useless. I don't think we're at the level of AI is replacing our ability to test graphics, make images, write copy entirely. I've seen some people use it for I've seen people use it for copy in many places. If you're trying to write a copy for a blog post and you're like, "Hey, let me tell you why we have cruelty-free deodorant," why we use coconut oil in our deodorant. That's great, something that AI can probably help with. Just hasn't revolutionized the game in the way that people are hoping it will in the next 2 to 4 years, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think I agree with you there. I also think that, like, one thing that I always go back to when I think about, or when somebody asks me about AI and e-commerce, is I think about what Ryan said from True Classic, which is like, for him, the biggest differentiator with True Classic is the creative and is the storytelling and the marketing and the comedy and like the authenticity that comes through that. I think with AI, like, if everybody's using AI, doesn't that kind of get lost? And also, it's not like AI is also creating based on what has already existed. It doesn't create on imagination in that sense.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Like, every brand that's sort of had a moment has had that moment because they've done something really original.
Yeah.
Like, I remember Harry's email collection list and being like, "Hey, let's collect emails before we launch." I remember Mailbox's wait list when it would count down before they gave you access to the Mailbox app. Like, everyone who's launched and had a big moment or done something interesting with marketing has done so because they've been unique and thought about it in a different way than other people. I don't think AI is going to be able to do that for you, but I do think it'll help marginally.
Yeah, totally.
Hey guys, I'm super excited that this season's sponsor is Fulfill.io. I invested $500,000 in Fulfill about 7 years ago. Back then, the business was really a nascent ERP. Today, they've built out an entire set of features to become a single source of truth. They can do full operations, accounting, order management, inventory, warehouse management, EDI operations. It's really incredible. They've got huge businesses working with Fulfill, Ridge, Hexclad, Caraway, another business I invested in called Cadence. The best part about Fulfill is how hands-on they are. it's one of those founder-led businesses where the founder is still deep in the code and deep in the product. If you work with something like NetSuite, it might take you a year, 2 years. I've seen 5 years to get NetSuite implemented. That will not happen with Fulfill. Fulfill implementations take 5 weeks. It's not a traditional ERP. It's a 21st century ERP.
Okay, let's ask this other question from Chrissy Smith. She says, as you scale, you trade off efficiency and ad spend for total market share. What's the max percentage of your P&L you would allocate for ads? And does this change across the business's life cycle?
Ooh, I'm curious your answer to this. I feel like at some point it used to be very normal to spend like 80 to 100% of your revenue on ads. That was like 7 years ago. Now I feel like it's somewhere between like 30 to 50%.
Yeah, I guess it would really depend. For me, it really depends on the product that you're selling. If you're selling a durable product that has a one-time purchase, presumably your margin is much higher. Like I think of when I think of that, I think of like mattresses or furniture. I think of Burrow or Casper or Nectar, and I'm like, look, this is $1,000 item. There's a one-time purchase. This is a one-time purchase. Your COGS should be pretty low. Like, I would expect them to be $200. Your gross margin's 80% there. So I'm willing to spend 50, 60, 70% of my gross margin in order to acquire customers as I continue to scale. But that's because it's a one-time purchase, and spending 60% of my revenue still leads to a huge N. That's still a large number. If I'm selling this for $1,000, I have 200 COGS and $600 in marketing spend. I still earn $200 at the end of the day, which is a huge amount. So I think that for expensive, durable products, the number goes up a lot, to 60%, 70%. I think that if you're in the repeat category, I'm more in the 25 to 40%. 40% if you're being super aggressive in growth for some reason, 25% if you're bringing it down. Does this change across the business's life cycle? A little bit. Like you're probably spending less. P&G doesn't spend 25% or 33% of their revenue on marketing, but they do spend north of 10%, I believe. So I do think that it's you start bringing it down, you start ramping down. It's a little hard to tell. I feel like a lot of publicly traded direct to consumer businesses hide their marketing spend in other line items like SG, general expense, just in other line items. And so it's really hard to tell what their genuine marketing spend is. I do think that number gets a little bit lower if you're north of 500, a million, $1 billion in revenue. But I think for everyone listening here, if you're in a repeat category, 25 to 40% is a good benchmark. And if you're in a durable category, 30 to 70% is probably a good benchmark depending on your gross margin.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Okay, your question.
Okay, I will ask you. Okay, how do you get customers? This is from Rob Golterman. How do you get customers excited about leaving reviews, posting about you on social media, etc.? What's Jolie's secret that allows them to live in the e-commerce utopia of not being in the business of writing emails?
Shoot, do you know? I'm not sure what the answer is to the Jolie part.
Yeah, I have a thought. I think Jolie kind of created this cultural movement around the shower head where it feels more like a status symbol than just a filtered shower head. And I think that's why all their competitors struggle to sell a shower head even at half off. But, Jolie's never even given a discount. I think people want to be seen with a Jolie, or they want to make it known to other people that they have one, which is why they do so well on social. Jolie also puts out a shitload of content, which makes you want to be a part of that brand. However, I do think that while they don't write those emails, and I don't know where Ryan maybe said that, I think that they probably could have a shitload more reviews if they actually did. So think about all the reviews they've gotten by not writing those emails. I think if they did write those emails, they'd have a lot more. I don't think that's a good model to necessarily go off of. I actually think you should do anything in your power to get people to write reviews, especially with videos or photos. If you're selling an electrolyte mix, you don't want an unboxing photo. You want that in the cup with ice, or some sort of a lifestyle-like image. You basically want people to post a bunch of content and leave a review. And I think you could do that with a coupon code to come back. You could use Postscript for the cash back. You could find a gift with purchase. Maybe if they write you a review, you send them a gift with purchase as a one-off. But I think it's worth testing it out and seeing what gets the most reviews collected.
Are they doing the right thing by not are they doing the right thing, I guess, by not sending out those emails?
Well, first of all, I'm not 100% sure that that's true.
Okay. Yeah.
But if they are not sending emails, I think they probably look at it as like a brand marketing thing. Personally, I wouldn't do it. I think I'm much more a fan of actually sending the reviews. But Jolie does tend to do a lot of things like in an unconventional way.
They do a lot of things in an unconventional way. How do you get let's go back to the original question, which is how do you get people excited about leaving reviews and posting about you on social media? I think posting about you on social media is really, really difficult. Like people have to they have to have an amazing experience. And it has to add value to their timeline or to their story, whatever it is. Like I think about Last Crumb. If you think about Last Crumb's unboxing experience, it's insane. Like instead of getting a box of they could probably spend I don't know, they could probably spend 20% of what they spend on packaging and shipping and ship you the exact same product. Like they ship you a dozen cookies and it could cost them $7 to ship it, including packaging. Instead, they probably spend something like $55 shipping it to you. The box is insane, huge. They obviously don't give a crap about dimensional weight. They don't give a crap about corrugate or box costs or anything else. They just want the unboxing experience to be really sexy and to make it look awesome. And I think that does add value. And I think that gets people to post about it organically. I don't think it's something you can do. I don't think we tried to do it. We're like, get a $20 Starbucks gift card. I remember at Native, we were like, get a $20 Starbucks gift card. We give one away a week, post about this and tag, Native offer or something like hashtag Native offer or like Native box. We were probably shipping out 25,000 packages, 50,000 packages a week. No, more than that, more than 50,000 packages a week probably. And we were getting 3 posts. So think about all the impressions that got and the fact that it got 3 posts. We just couldn't get it done because it wasn't compelling. The unboxing experience was nice, but it wasn't Last Crumb like nice. The offer of $20 just wasn't enough.
It's tough to get people to post about certain things. Like, you can't get people really to post about supplements unless it's tied to a celebrity. And that's why, if Sammy Clark is posting or like Alyssa Lynch posts about Chroma Wellness, I could see people buy it and post because they want that social currency of, hey, look, I also post just like Alyssa, or I also take this just like Alyssa does. But unless there's some sort of, or like Salud is another good example. Salud has created such a great brand for themselves from a content and a social and an influencer standpoint that you want to post and be involved in that. I think Jolie did the same, but I think it's almost impossible for anybody else to do. It really is like the 1% of the 1% that have that sort of like brand aura where people want to be posting about them on social. I mean, even whoever's listening, like think about how many times you've posted about a brand of a package that you got. Like what percentage of the packages you get are you posting, let alone, sending a picture to your friends as a referral or something. I just think the number is super small. I don't think it's a realistic goal. I think it's something that you can have. I think you should focus on the reviews, and I think you should focus on putting out good content and building that brand aura. But to have that social media tags as a KPI, I think you might you might end up in a position where you're giving out money in exchange for posts that really aren't going to do anything at the end.
Yeah. I completely agree with that. I do think the one area where you could do is you can make sure you repost every other any customer who tags you in a story, share that story again on your story. So people are like, wow, okay,
Totally.
if I tag them, I'm like, if you have 75,000 followers and, whatever your Joel, I don't know how many followers that Jolie has, but we're just using that as an example. Let's say Jolie has 75,000 followers. If they repost everything that customers post, you're going to be like, wow, I can get that. I can get an account with 75,000 followers to repost something of mine. Maybe I'll pick up some new followers. You can do that. I think in terms of leaving reviews, everyone would ask me, how did you get so many reviews in Native? For God's sakes, we just ask. I'm not sure why people don't ask. We would literally, thousands of emails every day would be, hey, did you like our product? If so, please leave a review here. If you didn't, please reply to this email and tell us why you didn't like it so we can make it better. And it was really simple. And what was effective about that was it was like a text-based email and not like not there were no images or anything. So it was more likely to go to your inbox. And it was also like, hey, if you're unhappy, just reply so we can get it. We can do a good job. We can make our product better. We weren't trying to be assholes. Obviously, we were trying to discriminate. Like we're trying to not discriminate, but discourage you from leaving a bad review by saying reply instead of like, yeah, leave a bad review here too. And it worked, I think people were like, you know what, this is small business. I don't want to leave a bad review and make it really public, or, they're trying to work hard and make their product better. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity to just ask and structure that email so it gets in an inbox, and then make it so that, people are like, you know what, if I had a bad experience, I don't want to tell everyone I had a bad experience. And if I had a good experience, I want to tell everyone because it's a small business and I want to support them. My family and I were just in Istanbul. I remember we ate at this Pakistani restaurant, and the guy's like, we've been open for 6 months. And I was like, man, he didn't have that much business either. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave a positive review, because even though the place was good, but not amazing, I was like, I'm going to leave a positive review because I want this guy to be successful. It's a small business and I hope he does really well. And I think that's a really easy thing to ask of people.
Totally. I do think the one place where you could probably get away with this is like places like TikTok Shop, where you can incentivize people from an affiliate standpoint to post. Like if somebody's already bought your product and you're like, yo, I'll give you, $12 for every person, everybody who buys it from your video. I think that's one opportunity where you could probably still get people to post in an easier way. But other than that, I think default back to everything we just said, especially the plain text reviews. That is probably the number one tip I hear back from people who listen to the podcast, and they've said that they implemented that and that skyrocketed their reviews because they have a plain text email that goes out from the founder, and it just says, hey, I just saw you bought this. Thanks so much. We've just started making these. We'd really appreciate a review. It's going to help us a bunch. And those work super well.
Yeah. So simple. Okay. Next question is from Dan Staub. He says, predict a retail bankruptcy in 2024.
Ooh, that's a dark question. Let's see. I had a couple thoughts on this. One is I definitely think there's probably going to be some that go bankrupt. The three that I wrote down, one, you're probably going to laugh. One was Rite Aid. One was Big Lots. Do you remember Big Lots?
Do I remember Big Lots? I love Big Lots. Why would Big Lots?
Hell yeah.
I don't think they're going to go bankrupt, too. Really? Fuck.
I think so. And then Hooters.
Oh, no.
Those are my three guesses of
what was your first one? I love the second two. What was the first one?
Rite Aid.
Rite Aid. Okay, gotcha.
However,
okay. Those are good.
I also think that there might be a shift in some of these retail stores. Like I think Macy's, CVS, Target, I think a lot of these stores are going to shift to localized fulfillment centers. And, what was it? Is it one in two purchases at Costco now happen on the .com? It's either 1 in 2 or 1 in 5. Very different numbers, but either way, it's still a big percentage. And I can only imagine it's going to keep growing. Yeah. And so anyways, I think a lot of stores are going to turn into like hubs, if not full retail stores. Maybe they'll lower some of their square footage that's consumer facing and increase some of it that's backstock. But I think the three that I wrote, Rite Aid, Hooters, and Big Lots.
Okay. Mine is the Container Store. I hope it doesn't.
Really?
I love the Container Store, but it just
I thought of the Container Store.
Yeah. I just don't know how it thrives in this type of environment. It just makes it difficult.
It's a good point. I took it off only because of the last minute nature to the store. Like there is a last minute nature of, oh, I'm just moving in or I'm just about to go on a trip. Which is why I took it off. But I could totally see, why couldn't you take the top 10% SKUs and put them in Target? Now you don't need the Container Store.
I also feel like the Container Store's Black Friday is whenever people are moving into dorm rooms. They're like, please, you're moving into a dorm room. I remember going to the Container Store near where I remember going to a Container Store when everyone was just getting into their dorm rooms and the line was like out the door. And then 3 days later, I went in and nobody was there. I was like, okay, that's exactly what I should have expected, is that one day everyone's here with their parents buying whatever they need for their dorm room. And then the next day they're all gone. Okay, do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, let's do one more.
All right, you pick it.
Okay, this is from Michael. How can a brand with an AOV of $30 survive in direct-to-consumer world? We're Amazon only for now, but trying to make the switch to direct-to-consumer, but the math doesn't seem to work. We have 5 SKUs as we are more like a product brand. Product is not consumable, but it wears out, so probably should be repurchased every 3 to 4 months.
What do you think?
So I put a couple things. One is if you know your product's going to be, needs repurchase every 3 to 4 months. One, I wonder if that's like, is that wear and tear? Is that normal? If it's not normal, I would probably address that up front and maybe try to put people on a subscription. I think if it's not addressed up front, but people are going to wear out, then you could stack can you buy 3 for a discounted price, or basically just AOV stacking. One that I took from you, or actually two that I took from you. One was having smart upsells, both pre and post purchase, which I'm sure you're going to mention. And then one was to source complementary products. So if you're selling toothpaste or toothbrush that is going to wear out in 3-4 months, whatever, maybe you source a DOP kit for $1.50 and you can upsell that for $12.99 or $14.99 and add some margin there.
Or, bundle them and say, hey, you're buying a toothbrush instead of buying 1 buy 3, and it was $30 for 1, it's $60 for 3. So yeah, I definitely think getting your AOV up to give you the room to advertise more is super helpful. I think I've told this story multiple times, but when we started Native, our AOV started at like $13 and it ended at something like $26 or $27 because we got people to get into upsells and buy the 3-pack, and it gave us a lot more room to spend on marketing. So yeah, 1, get that AOV up. 2 is, I recognize it's very, very difficult to go from an Amazon, a primary Amazon brand to direct to consumer and Amazon. Like, it's hard if you're 100% Amazon. I think the best you're going to get is 20-30% Shopify. I've never seen anyone go from 100% Amazon at any scale and then become 70% Shopify. Like, people know you on Amazon. You already show up when people are searching your keywords. That's where your reviews are. People have already obviously saved their checkout information on Amazon. So I do think you're admittedly have an uphill battle. The thing I would say is exactly what you said. Get your AOV up. Try and really play the email game. Try and get people to switch from Shopify to from Amazon to your Shopify site when you're advertising by offering incentives to buy from Shopify. So if you're buying a toothbrush or you're buying a DOP kit, say free toothbrush if you give us your email address. So we have email addresses and we can continually market you and email market you. And then offer a discount basically compared to Amazon. The discount doesn't have to be monetary. Doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be, I sell Olipop for $1 on Olipop.com and $3 on Amazon. It could be get a free case when you buy 4 cases on Olipop.com. Give people a reason to go to your .com as opposed to just on Amazon. Otherwise, Amazon is a lot more convenient. If you're going to treat your product like a commodity and your site like a commodity, so will everyone else. So you really got to make it special.
Yeah, fully agreed. The Amazon thing is so real too. Like, I remember at Hint, we had our top 5 flavors on Amazon for the longest time, and the other 22 that you couldn't get on Amazon were on the .com. And it was great for recruiting people back to the website because once they liked the product, they wanted to try more. The only way to get it was come to our site.
Absolutely. Like, it's a no-brainer to put some exclusive products just on your site to try and but it's hard if you have 5 products and it's a durable, I don't know anything about this person's brand. But it could be hard if you're durable and you have 5 products, but try and make exclusives for your .com. That's even true for Target and Walmart. When you have retailers, they want exclusives as well. So the game of exclusives and managing channels never ends.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's the, I know we've got to wrap up pretty soon, so I think that's going to be the final question. I tweeted this out earlier, but Nick, this is my final episode of Limited Supply. It's been such a pleasure doing this with you. 8 seasons. Have they all been 12 episodes? I'm trying to figure out how many.
I think they've all been 12 episodes, yeah.
Oh, all right. So we got to 96 episodes. We didn't quite make it to 100. Now I regret that.
Almost.
I wish we had made it to 100. But this has been such a pleasure. It's been so much fun to do this with you. I'm so grateful for all the time you spent doing this and getting to know you better over the 96 hours we've been recording and 300 hours we've been prepping for these things. It's been great. So shout out to you. So grateful to you. Grateful to the Workweek team, to Tyler, to Ben, to Adam, and certainly to our listeners. I'm excited to start being a listener to this podcast. I've never listened to I've listened to 1 episode, I think. So I'm excited to hear, all of the gems that you're going to drop for the next 8 seasons.
Thank you. It's been honestly such a cool highlight of my life to do this with you too, especially from meeting you at Shop Talk, 5 years ago in a trailer park, looking at each other being like, hey, you're the other brown guy in this industry.
That's right.
To 96 episodes. And it's funny. I always thought joke's on you, Moiz, because I got to spend an hour with you every week and get to jam with you. So I'm very grateful for all the time we spent and excited we're going to have you back on as a guest, I'm sure, in the future. And I'm excited to keep hanging out, playing some ping pong, and also keep limited
let's
supply
continue
going.
to spend that hour a week. It just doesn't have to be recording.
I love it.
Awesome. Appreciate all your time. Thanks so much, guys, and thanks for listening.
See you next season.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next time to cut through the noise in CPG, retail, and e-commerce.
And if you enjoyed this episode, then why not share it with a friend? And be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts on.